Welcome to the Future of Innovation in the Roanoke Region of Virginia webinar. I'm your host. We're so excited by the interest in this program and how many folks from all sectors, the economic development community, site selection professionals, and startups and entrepreneurs decided to join us today. We're truly thankful for your interest. I'm your host, John Hull, Executive Director of the Roanoke Regional Partnership. Today, you're going to hear from powerful institutions which have invested collectively over $1 billion in the past decade into the region. That demonstrates their commitment to the Roanoke region and its potential as a biotech and innovation hub. Our focus today highlights the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute at VTC and Carilion Clinic, our regional health system and the largest employer in the western half of the state, both of which are headquartered in Roanoke. Their forward-thinking partnership has garnered national attention by marrying education, world-class research, clinical excellence, and a wraparound entrepreneurial community, developing a pathway to commercialization for many health and life science research spinoffs. On our panel today, we have Dr. Michael Friedlander, Executive Director of the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute at VTC, one of the nation's fastest growing research institutes, and Don Halliwill, Chief Financial Officer for Carilion Clinic. Each will share insight and perspective on the history and future development of the innovation corridor, the complexity as well as the success of the regional research effort. Then I'll wrap up with development opportunities and regional advantages, followed by Q&A. Many of you submitted great questions in the registration form, and we plan to address some of those at the end of the presentation. For those we don't get to, or questions you include in the chat during the webinar, just know we plan to reach out afterward to address those questions and provide resources to help you continue to grow your business or find solutions for your clients. First up is Dr. Friedlander, the Vice President for Health Sciences and Technology at Virginia Tech, where he also serves as the founding Executive Director of the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute at VTC and the Senior Dean for Research at the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. He has built the Institute's research programs to over $140 million in current grant value within the Institute's first 10 years, and his research has been published in leading journals such as Academic Medicine, Cell, J Neuroscience, Nature, Neuron, PNAS, and Science. Dr. Friedlander, thank you for your valuable time today, and I'll let you take it away. Sorry, Doctor, I think you're muted.
There we go. How about now? Hear me okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Good, thank you very much, John. Pleasure to be here today, and I'm really looking forward to this opportunity to share some of the exciting things going on here in the Roanoke Innovation Corridor, and particularly from the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute perspective and that of Virginia Tech. If I could advance the first slide here, let's see.
Yeah, you should have access to take over control. There you go.
Okay, all right, so this is a picture of the Riverside campus in Roanoke that shows what's going on in this area. We have the medical school, the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute, Carilion Clinic, you'll hear more about, has some outpatient services. We also have from Virginia Tech, the Animal Cancer Care and Research Center and graduate programs. This area has grown tremendously over the last decade. And this is a result of the very successful partnership between Virginia Tech and Carilion Clinic, or VTC. So let me share a little bit with you about Virginia Tech, one of the major partners in this VTC arrangement. As many of you know, Virginia Tech has its main campus in Blacksburg. It's over a $1.75 billion annual operating budget, over $2 billion in managed assets, a large endowment, and over $550 million in annual research expenditures by Virginia Tech, employing over 13,000 people with over 37,000 students. And so a very, very big part of that, of course, is based in Blacksburg, but also here in Roanoke on the health science campus, we have a lot of those activities. The landscape of Virginia Tech's partnerships is quite broad, as you can see here. We work with foundations, with scientific societies, of course, with federal agencies, private industry, international partners, other universities, national labs, etc. So it's a very broad network and ecosystem of connectivity for research between Virginia Tech in the entire enterprise, both nationally and internationally. And the portfolio that supports research, the sponsored research portfolio, is very broad, as can be shown here. There are many different opportunities for funding to support the research enterprise. As you can see in the three blue, gray, and maroon on the bottom, the Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Defense, and the National Science Foundation together account for just about half of the funding for the research programs at Virginia Tech, and many other agencies and organizations account for the rest. And of course, partnerships are key to this success. Virginia Tech has been known historically as a powerhouse institution in engineering, and rightfully so. And as you can see from the list of major companies here and the many partners that Virginia Tech has, a lot of that has been realized through these partnerships between academia and industry. But in recent years, there's been more and more growth, particularly since 2010, with the opening of the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute and the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine in the biomedical and health sciences space. And just to give you an example of some of the translational and entrepreneurial activities coming out of these enterprises at Virginia Tech, this shows for fiscal year 21, there were 141 intellectual property disclosures. As you can see, many of those in the life sciences, 153 patent applications, and 48 patents issued. And so if we have a look now at the interconnectedness of this entire biomedical and health science enterprise, in the center here, you can see a picture of one of the buildings of the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute on the Health Sciences campus in Roanoke. And then around it, the connections you can see in the lower left, Carilion Clinic, of course, right across the street, undergoing major expansion, lots of great collaborative research between the clinic and the Research Institute. In Blacksburg, the main Virginia Tech campus, and the veterinary school, which we have a great partnership with for research in cancer. And then on the right side, you can see two of our newest partners in this ecosystem. That is the innovation campus that Virginia Tech is currently building in Alexandria. And as you can see, this wonderful new facility that'll focus on computer science and computer engineering. And then in the lower right corner, our newest partner in the clinical area as well, the Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C., with whom we have a number of ongoing research collaborations, particularly obviously in the pediatric health space. And so here's just a few numbers to show you the level of activity here in Roanoke at the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute. At the moment, there are 37 teams of researchers, well over 400 investigators, faculty, staff, students working together. A number of these investigators have won awards and recognition for their contributions. We've graduated a number of students with doctoral degrees in research, and a large number of publications you can see coming out of this research, over 1,000. And with an estimated economic impact of the enterprise here in Riverside of about $500 million a year over the next few years. So it takes money to do this kind of research. And in order to compete successfully with those funds, your researchers have to be recognized as amongst the very tops in the field, nationally and internationally. And I'm very proud to share that the researchers here on the Riverside campus at the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute obtain such recognition, as is evidenced by their success in obtaining extramural funding to drive their biomedical research. This chart simply shows since its inception in fiscal year 11 to the last fiscal year, the growth in the extramural grant funding. It's now closer to $170 million, the total value of the grant portfolio. And that annually turns out to be about $40 million a year or so. So growing from literally nothing over a period of a decade, the biomedical research enterprise here has really taken off, as it has for all of Virginia Tech and through our partnership with Carilion Clinic. And it's these investments that allow our researchers to do the groundbreaking leading edge work that they're also heavily involved with in health sciences. So what are some of those areas where we're really making a difference and differentiating ourselves? The major focus areas are listed here. Brain disorders. 1 out of almost every 4 Americans will deal with a brain disorder in their life. And as you can see, the annual cost is staggering. And that includes a number of things that affect the brain injuries, intellectual disabilities, neurodegenerative disease, addiction, etc. Then cancers, with a focus on brain cancers. And even though the numbers aren't as great there, these are some of the most deadly and insidious types of disease that profoundly affect people throughout the lifespan, including children, that we have taken on as a major research area. And then finally, cardiovascular disease and cardiometabolic health. again, still the #1 cause of death and morbidity in the United States, heart disease. And we have a major focus here on studying things like arrhythmias or abnormal patterns of electrical activity in the heart that can lead to sudden cardiac death and ischemic heart disease. And most recently, with COVID, the spread of viral infections to the heart causing myocarditis as well. Another major area, as I mentioned, in the area of neuroscience is related to things like addiction and substance abuse. We have here some of those innovative investigators working on areas such as understanding and decoding what happens in the brain during addiction, and particularly the recovery process. We have a worldwide registry here. We study people from many countries who have successfully overcome an addiction to anything. It might be drugs, alcohol, smoking, eating, whatever it might be, to understand those properties and to put those in play and translate them into health therapeutics. On the mental health research side, we have a number of investigators studying some of the major causes of mental health disorders, such as major depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. And once again, being that we're part of Virginia Tech, we have access to using some of the leading edge technologies and in innovating through things such as our computational psychiatry unit, the first one to be founded in the world. The human magnetometry lab, we are able to, with high precision in space and time, see what's going on inside a human brain non-invasively while people are interacting with each other in the human neuroimaging lab, for example. And then as we get into other areas of research, is shown hopefully on the next slide. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Neurodegenerative diseases are also a major cause of mortality and morbidity. And that includes, of course, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and even brain cancers themselves. And we have, again, leading people using technologies like Dr. Munson using biomedical engineering to understand how fluids move around tumors in the brain and use that to design custom therapies to treat brain cancers. Dr. Montague and his team that have the first in the world ability to measure in a patient's brain the release of critical chemicals involved in neuropsychiatric disease. And then shown on the right, new technologies our group is using, such as MR-guided focused ultrasound that non-invasively allows treatment and modulation of activity in the brain to treat a whole host of disorders. This is one of the few places in the world where this technology is being put to use on a regular basis. And when it comes to heart disease and cardiometabolic disorders, we have a number of investigators studying the interface between diet, exercise, and heart disease. So Dr. DeFelice Antonio, shown on the left here, is using brain imaging to study how people make choices about the foods they eat, the healthy or not so healthy foods. Dr. Flager and her colleagues are studying how nutrition affects heart function and heart disease. And then on the right shows a very important part of what differentiates us. That is the interface of studying human and animal health and disease. Virginia Tech has the only college of veterinary medicine within this area of the Atlantic coast between Maryland and Virginia and the DC area. And that vet school focuses a lot on studying cancer. As it turns out, many of our best friends in the animal kingdom, that is our pets, our dogs and our cats, get some of the same diseases spontaneously that we get, such as brain tumors, for example. So we have the Animal Cancer Care and Research Center located right here in Roanoke on the Riverside Health Science campus, with veterinarians and other investigators working closely with our researchers to come up with new discoveries for diagnostics and therapeutics, both for animal as well as for human health. And then children's health is a major focus. Every country, of course, wants to invest strongly in the future of its health of its citizens as they grow and mature. And our children represent that very important resource. So here at the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute, we have one of the nation's leading pediatric rehabilitation resource centers, working with children who have received injuries such as a stroke they may have had at the time of birth or a brain injury. And our team has come up with innovative ways to help rehabilitate those damaged areas of the brain and help those children capture, again, a normal life. And we have patients coming literally from all over the world for these innovative new therapies and to participate in these research trials as well. To make all this move out of the academic setting into the real world, we take advantage of the power that Virginia Tech has through its licensing division and a program called Link, License, and Launch, or the 3 Ls. And this is a program that works with our researchers to help us link up together with existing companies, to get licensing for our discoveries out to other companies, and to launch new startup companies from the research being done here at the Health Sciences campus at the Innovation Corridor in Roanoke. And so the next slide just shows a few examples of some of the companies that have recently spun out in the biomedical and health science research arena. I'll just highlight one or two. In the upper left, you see a picture of one of our senior investigators here at the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute, Dr. Rob Gordy, who recently started his third company called Tiny Cargo, a company centered around delivering therapeutics specifically to the parts of the body where they're needed by using naturally occurring small vesicles that can be extracted from, of all things, milk. And Dr. Gordy and his investigators have studied this in the lab, and they now have a way to test how to deliver therapeutics for a heart attack very soon after the heart attack on site through these delivery systems called exosomes, for example. Over to the right, you see another one of the spin-off companies called Beam Diagnostics, founded by one of our senior investigators, Dr. Warren Bickel, and one of his research fellows, Dr. Sarah Snyder. Beam uses the study that they do looking at addiction and substance abuse to understand how people make bad decisions sometimes for our own health about things that we take into our body, whether it's smoking or drinking or drugs of abuse, whatever it may be. And then using that information individually, they've turned it into an app that healthcare systems can use and help to notify the patient to remind them of things in the future. So it changes how their brain makes decisions in a more healthy way. And so this company spun out of the research in the lab and is now working very closely with healthcare systems, including our partner, Carilion Clinic. And then I want to say just a little bit at the end here about the young people that are involved in these pathways of the future careers. They are often the engines that drive the discovery and the innovation here in the Innovation Corridor in Roanoke. And so I first highlight for you some of the students coming out of our relatively new medical school program, the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, and some of the facts about their success. I won't go through them in detail, but you can see they published a number of research papers, they presented at national meetings, they go on to successfully match and get their residency training. They have a number of collaborations. So these are medical students going on to be practitioners of medicine, doctors, but they're also heavily involved throughout the entire 4 years of their medical training in research and discovery at the interface of the biomedical and health sciences. This differentiates the Virginia Tech Carilion Medical School and the partnership between Virginia Tech and Carilion Clinic from many of the traditional medical schools around the country. And then you heard me mention our graduate students. We have a program called Translational Biology, Medicine and Health, or TBMH. And that program has been graduating several classes of students who now have their PhDs, and they've gone off to take positions all around the country and the world. Here are just a few highlights from our first class. Dr. Ramalagam is now working at the Oregon Health Science University, running the postdoctoral office. Dr. Strayer is now at Vanderbilt, running their translational research programs. Dr. Leibovitz is at the FDA, and Dr. Kennedy Metz is at Harvard. So these students are doing very well, and they're taking with them the translational approach, the commercialization, the things they've learned here, while some of them stay here to continue their work with companies. And finally, just to highlight the quality of these young people and these students, they win all kinds of very competitive awards. Here's just a list of some of the recent graduate students from the TBMH program. And under each one's name, you can see a name of an award they've won recently. These are awards that are valued between $100,000 and $500,000 or so, that are very competitive, that they win nationally, often from the National Institutes of Health. And that tells you something about how the rest of the country views the research going on here in Roanoke at the Innovation Corridor. And I just end by pointing out one of these examples, now Dr. Sabag, who left here this past year to go to Harvard to continue his training. He was selected by Forbes magazine as one of the top 30 people in the world under 30 in science. And so I think that is indicative and speaks volumes to the quality of the entire program here. The Research Institute, the medical school, the partnership between Virginia Tech and Carilion Clinic. It's a great place to be if you're interested in innovation, translation, and entrepreneurial spirit in the biomedical and the health sciences space. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Friedlander. I always love learning about the immense progress you all are making in your respective fields at Fralin Biomedical Research Institute. You share some great examples of success, which really give us a sense of tremendous and sophisticated operation that you're running there. I'm so impressed by the research partnerships and the student talent. One question for you, Dr. Friedlander. What are some of the potential jobs of the future that may come out of the innovation corridor's growth that we can work to attract or to offer training?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the future is really going to demand that people going into the fields in the health sciences and biomedical sciences are very facile in working with quantitative data in all respects, data analytics, big data, et cetera. Whether you're in the healthcare delivery industry per se, or you're in the innovation space on the front end in terms of discoveries. So one of the things that happens here across the board is all of the trainees, whether they're medical students, graduate students, fellows, residents, et cetera, are getting exposed to these very quantitative approaches at the interface of biotechnology, medicine, and health. And so that's one of our great strengths. Many of these students, fellows, trainees, et cetera, are involved with the commercialization aspect of what we're talking about here, as I gave you a few examples. So they're getting kind of bitten by the commercialization bug, if you will. And I think it offers a great opportunity for partners to be in the area. And finally, I would say the resources here in terms of the facilities, the leading edge technology offers an extraordinary opportunity for people and working in various industries and partners to be in this area and to interact with the students while they're training, as well as the faculty, the clinicians, et cetera. So it's a great destination to be if you're interested in translation and commercialization of leading edge discovery.
Thank you again, Dr. Friedlander. We'll have an opportunity for additional Q&A at the end of the webinar. Next, I'm very happy to introduce to you Don Halliwill, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer at Carilion Clinic, who oversees enterprise finance operations and strategy, works alongside physicians and partners to promote research efforts, and takes great pride in serving his community through a number of volunteer and board efforts. He's a graduate of Virginia Tech himself and went on to get his MBA at Wake Forest and is a lifelong resident of the Roanoke region. What a pleasure to have you. I'll let you take it over now, Don.
Well, thank you, John. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Great. Well, thank you for that introduction. I have a chance to maybe advance the slides. Let's see here. There we go. So welcome everyone this afternoon. It's great to have you with us. I'm excited to be a part of this program today, although I have to admit, whenever I have to follow Dr. Friedlander, I feel a little intimidated. He always has such incredible stories to share about the things that are happening right here in the Roanoke and New River Valley region in Virginia. As John mentioned, I am a lifelong resident of this area. And so it's been so exciting to be here from the beginning and be able to see the magic really that has happened with the Fralin Biomedical Institute over the last decade or so. And right alongside that, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the Carilion Clinic team that, as Dr. Friedlander alluded to, is part of what's known as the VTC, Virginia Tech Carilion Partnership. We've kind of split up the presentation today into a Virginia Tech piece and a Carilion piece, although it really all goes together at the end of the day, particular for the topics that we're talking about today. Carilion Clinic, in case you're not familiar with the organization, is a nationally acclaimed integrated healthcare delivery system. That means we own hospitals, we also employ physicians, and we run a lot of different health and wellness aspects and access points for our communities. We are a mission-driven, tax-exempt organization. Our mission is to improve the health of the communities that we serve. And in doing so, we see innovation, research, and education being part of our responsibilities to our communities. And that's why it's such a natural fit for our organization to be part of the Virginia Tech Carilion Partnership. We little over $2 billion a year in annual revenues. So when you combine Carilion and Virginia Tech, you're $4.5 billion a year net revenue operation organization. We're headquartered in Roanoke, Virginia, although we're spread throughout the western part of the state. about 1,500 employed providers, physicians, and advanced care practitioners, and another 600 physicians and other practitioners in private practice across the system. We have about 13,000 or so employees, 7 hospitals, 250 access points for service locations across 80 specialties across our markets. We have and operate a Carilion Children's Hospital that incorporates about 14 specialties, so a regional approach to to pediatric care. We've just completed and opened a $40 million ambulatory pediatric site located here in Roanoke that's providing new and enhanced access to care for our patients. And you can see here several of the different access points we provide for our communities, from urgent care facilities to patient transportation. And while this is beneficial for meeting our mission to our communities for healthcare services, it also gives us broad access to a number of patients and patient health and wellness data. And that can come in important when we're talking about the partnership that we have, in particular on the research side, and then the applications for discovery that we can facilitate from the innovation side to entrepreneurship to practical application in health and wellness services. Our strategic partnerships, we've talked about Virginia Tech Carilion. We also have a partnership with Radford University, our community colleges, and a multitude of organizations across our ecosystem. This timeline gives a little bit about the history of Carilion in the 80s, 90s, and into the early 2000s. A traditional hospital holding company, owned and operated hospitals throughout the region. In 2006, our board and leadership made a decision to embark on a new strategic direction and transform into a physician-led clinic model of healthcare delivery, similar to Mayo Clinic or Cleveland Clinic. That also resulted in the partnership with Virginia Tech, the opening of the medical school in 2010, the first graduating class from BTC School of Medicine in 2014. Dr. Friedlander mentioned, we've just started about a $500 million expansion to our flagship hospital, Carilion Medical Center, Carilion Roanoke Memorial Hospital here in Roanoke. That will focus primarily on cardiovascular services. And so some of the areas that you heard Dr. Friedlander talk about on the research side, cardiovascular services, pediatrics, high-level imaging, all of those are services that are also important to our communities. And so a really good fit between the research part of the partnership and the practical delivery of services to our communities. And then we'll talk about Carilion Innovation Launch that's shown to the far right on the timeline here. Carilion also has a significant economic impact across our region and across the state. You can see some of our statistics that are shown here. In particular, a significant contributor to the regional economy. And then the partnerships with VTC and Radford University Carilion add to the benefit that we provide for our communities. So delivering healthcare, delivering the future in terms of providers for healthcare services and the research that will drive it, while also contributing in today's communities from an economic perspective. We're talking today, focus on the Roanoke Innovation Corridor and Roanoke Innovates. When we talk about the Innovation Corridor, it is composed of so many different contributors and partners. Carilion, Virginia Tech, but you also see here organizations like RAMP, which is a local incubator. Radford University, we talked about, and our community colleges, in particular Virginia Western here in Roanoke. But something that makes this partnership and our ecosystem here somewhat unique is the cooperation that we get from municipalities. And so the city of Roanoke, very, very involved in the work and supportive of the work throughout the Innovation Corridor. The county of Roanoke, many other municipalities in and around the region, all supportive, involved, and participatory in making the ecosystem what it is today and looking towards the future. So that includes the Roanoke RBTC, Roanoke Blacksburg Technology Corridor, regional accelerators, as I mentioned, the RAMP program, and the coordination and collaboration organization known as Verge here in our region. These organizations and this work support internships for the future of innovation and entrepreneurship, entrepreneurism. We have existing wet and dry lab space here in Roanoke, as well in Blacksburg, and plans to expand access to those types of resources here to continue to support incubator and innovation across the region. And we have all types of academic and practical partnerships in the innovation and entrepreneur space. An example of that is Carilion Clinic Innovations. So Carilion Clinic Innovations was founded out of the opportunity that we realized there was inherent value and there are synergies within our clinical environment across Carilion Clinic, but we really didn't have a formal, easy to find and follow outlet to innovation from those ideas. So in 2020, we launched Carilion Clinic Innovation with the idea, the focus, the goal to translate these ideas and discoveries into continuous improvements in health services, healthcare. So really translational in nature. We do recognize and focus on and support the commercial potential, but it is purpose-driven first. We exist to improve the health of the communities we serve, and so we see great connectivity and opportunities between that purpose-driven mission that we have and innovation, entrepreneurism, and discovery, and then ultimate commercialization. So in the first year of Carilion Clinic Innovations, you can see here we had about 65 inventions disclosed. There are 38 of those in active development. 2021, similar numbers, 83 inventions disclosed, an additional number in active development. We have had patents filed in the first couple of years, and most importantly, almost 100 inventors that have been engaged that otherwise might have been flying under the radar or looking elsewhere to develop their ideas. We also have access to venture funding as part of the ecosystem here. VTC Ventures, founded between Virginia Tech and Carilion about 5 years ago now, almost $55 million worth of venture capital spread across high growth seed investments, Series A and Series B investments, focused mainly on healthcare, technology, food and ag startups in and around the Virginia Tech Carilion ecosystem. It reflects the mission of Carilion Clinic, the clinical partner, as well as the land grant research oriented goals of Virginia Tech. There's an investing component in searching for return on that investment, but as importantly is the value that VTC Ventures provides with other partners across the ecosystem in mentoring regional startups, active in regional startup events, and really promoting innovation and entrepreneurship across the region, even at times where we don't see the active opportunity for investment. It's all about building the culture across the community around innovation. Outside, we co-invest with outside portfolio companies, both locally and across the nation. And to the right here, you see some of the VTC Innovation Fund portfolio companies. There are also companies that have been born out of the local environment, particularly as it relates to Carilion Clinic and collaboration with Virginia Tech. A company called ArchiveCore is a blockchain IT solution that's focused on credentialing for medical staffs across the industry. Dr. Friedlander earlier mentioned Akamal, which is an FBRI spinout that also has involved some Carilion Clinic collaboration. Another example is BrainBox, that is also involves both FBRI and Carilion Clinic. Actually opened up a regional office here, and so VTC Ventures innovation ecosystem is reflected here. And as important as our investments are for return on the amounts invested, we also see huge value in that mentoring box in the bottom right-hand corner on the side. We recognize that in order to build the type of environment that will promote success and growth in the long term, that mentoring perspective is really, really important. And we partner across our ecosystem to develop innovation and entrepreneurial community culture And as that builds, so does discovery in the area and opportunities for investment through BTC Ventures. Carilion Clinic also involved in research and development directly, 30 clinical trials sponsored in 2021, 74 extramural grants managed, research acceleration program that we have internally funded 10 proposals over 13 clinical areas. And this last slide for presentation shows that over the course of the last decade, with the development of Fralin Biomedical Institute at VTC, the work that Carilion Clinic has done to recruit physicians and physician scientists focused on specific areas that are important in the VTC relationship, and then VTC Ventures as a funding source and mentoring source for development across the continuum. You can see here we really have the funding stages covered. And at the bottom, we have examples of organizations and businesses that have grown out of and into this pipeline, from the early proof of concept funds that both Virginia Tech and Carilion Clinic have that fund annual investments at the proof of concept stage, into the VTC seed fund, and then the innovation funds, ultimately, we hope, resulting in not only discovery and help for our communities that we serve, but also successful exits and financial success. There are so many folks that could be active resources for those of you listening today. I'll mention two here relative to the presentation that I've made. One is our director for Carilion Clinic Innovations. His name is Troy Kaiser, and you can see his contact information here. And the other is James Ramey, the managing director and fund manager for VTC Ventures. And again, contact information here. Dr. Friedlander's team at FBRI, resources at Virginia Tech, resources at RAMP and RBTC, Roanoke Blacksburg Technology. So many resources available here, and everyone excited in working together to create something special and continue the success that we've seen thus far. John, I'll turn it back over to you.
A pleasure to hear from you, Don. As always, Carilion Clinic and Virginia Tech have a strong partnership at their crossroads here in the Roanoke region. And the partnership is the engine driving the innovation corridor forward. Don, I know you're regularly partnering, as you just said, with programs like RAMP, our regional accelerator, VTC Ventures, and Roanoke Innovates, among others. And of course, Carilion and Virginia Tech both have channels for research and commercialization. Can you talk a little bit about how these partners are here to support business in their entrance into the market and their collaborative, supportive environment that they provide for growth?
I can. So each one of those areas that we've talked about and you just described are capable of working independently with individuals who have an idea or who are interested in exploring an idea. As we talked before, we've got the FBRI perspective, the clinical environment perspective with Carilion Clinic, the broader academic access that Virginia Tech poses. But I think one of the things that's most important here in our region is the collaboration that exists. It is not only not uncommon, it is common for someone to make a contact, let's say with Troy Kaiser with Carilion Clinic Innovation, who reaches out to appear at Virginia Tech to engage them and ask them questions, who then collaborates with someone from the regional incubator, RAMP, who then also may be in contact from a financing perspective with James Ramey at BTC Ventures. And none of that is competitive in nature. Everyone sees that as the goal is to work together to help build success. And it really happens naturally here. If there's a municipality component, pick up the phone and call the city. And if they're not there, they'll call you right back. And again, I think it may not be unique, but it is something that's special that separates, I think, the environment here from other locations, is that sense of the importance of mentorship, not just for one silo's gain over the other silo, but for development really of the culture across the region and across the corridor.
Thanks again, Don and Dr. Friedlander. And I think they're both going to stick around to answer a few more questions at the end, so please stay on for the Q&A. I'm going to highlight in my comments what sets the Roanoke region apart. in addition to the leadership from folks like Don and Dr. Friedlander. Our advantages include our region's business climate, livability, and the driver of it all, our workforce, led by best-in-class higher education institutions. Again, I'm John Hull, Executive Director of the Roanoke Regional Partnership, and I'm always here to chat about opportunities, market intelligence, or any other resources you may need to help with. So please contact me anytime. Let's get into it. The Roanoke region is primed for development to support innovation industries. The benefits start with a central location, smack in the middle of the East Coast. 8 localities make up the largest metro region west of Richmond, the 4th largest in Virginia, and the capital of Western Virginia. The population of 330,000 in the region itself, and a labor market population of 600,000 plus. That translates to over 300,000 workers available for the growth of industry. Roanoke region is one stop to anywhere in the world by way of the Roanoke-Blacksburg Regional Airport, served by American, Delta, United, and Allegiant, with nonstop service to 8 cities. And when it comes to the business of life science, the Roanoke region resume is growing every day. As the most diverse metro economy in Virginia, the Roanoke region is home to headquarters, research, healthcare, manufacturing, and more. That incredible level of diversity carries over into the life sciences. Within the labor shed, there are over 40,000 workers in health and life sciences employed by 300 firms. That includes manufacturers like Novozymes, Balcom, Integer, McCarolades, and Foot Levelers, who are developing and producing technologies, including medical devices, enzymes, precision medical implants, absorbent products, and animal nutrition products and technologies. Luna is headquartered in Roanoke and is conducting research and development enterprise right here from this region. Revivicor is a subsidiary of United Therapeutics located in Blacksburg, working to develop xenotransplantation technology, that is, transplanting organs between different species and specifically genetically modified pigs. News was made recently when doctors at the University of Maryland completed a heart transplant between a pig and a human. The donor was raised on Revivicor's farm that's minutes from Roanoke. There's an incredible diversity of life science and tech industry within the region's labor shed, and these are but a few examples. As Don clearly demonstrated, Carilion Clinic is a major driver in the development of the innovation corridor in life science medical industry in the Roanoke region, and also a major partner in clinical research. Carilion Clinic is a key partner in development of the corridor and a partner to businesses locating in the region. This is a rendering of their current expansion project underway in the corridor. Carilion is a collaborative research partner working with industry at all stages of development. And as you've heard from Dr. Friedlander, there's a sophistication of research and innovation that is continuing to grow and develop in the Roanoke region. The Fralin Biomedical Research Institute is the cornerstone of the Roanoke Innovation Corridor. The corridor stretches through the heart of downtown and includes assets such as Carilion Clinic, Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, Radford University College of Health and Human Services, that's Radford University Carilion, and RAMP, which is our regional accelerator. We are incredibly fortunate to have 25 colleges and universities within an hour of Roanoke. More undergraduates per capita than Austin, Texas, Boston, San Francisco, and the Research Triangle. We have everything from technical training to the doctorate level degrees. Virginia Tech Carilion Medical School is in the heart of Roanoke, producing physician researchers. There is not a project that we cannot find a research tie with Virginia Tech or the other institutions within a close driving distance, whether that be engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and more, electronics, computer science. The list goes on and on. When it comes to supporting innovation, these institutions are the talent engine. Co-working spaces, accelerators, small business development, and support. The region is home to an ecosystem that will fall in with resources to ensure your success and future growth, and an incredibly supportive entrepreneurial system. Go Virginia is funding grant programs and projects to support the growth of technology and entrepreneurial ecosystem in the larger region, with several transformative projects underway to address the talent needs and other factors that support cluster growth. As you heard from Don, there's capital support through the VTC Innovation Fund to support growth in life science and tech companies. The Federal Opportunity Zone program covers the South Jefferson corridor, where the innovation corridor is centered within the larger region. There are a number of programs that may apply to help support growing companies. 2 community colleges in the region with training programs and customized training support fuel growth. Virginia Western Community College and Dabney S. Lancaster Community College fuel the region's technical training programs. Virginia Western Community College is at the forefront of technical training with their nationally recognized Advanced Technology and Mechatronics program. A new 72,000 square foot STEM facility houses the mechatronics program, fabrication, electronics labs, organic chemistry, biotech labs, and more. Specialized equipment is located there to address STEM education in concert with private industry partners. These programs are built in industry partnership and with feedback from industry. Eldor Corporation, for instance, is a sophisticated automated manufacturer of automotive ignition systems with active research into AI, robotics, and autonomous vehicles. And company leadership was very appreciative of Virginia Western Community College and the efforts they made to be responsive to Eldor's training needs. Industrial maintenance, robotics, mechatronics, machine operators, science, lab technicians, health professions, technology, and more through both community colleges. The Roanoke region has a high degree of industrial diversity with the training programs to match and a capability of putting custom training in place to support expanding industry of all types. We have a team approach of state, regional, and local resources together to deliver a ready workforce solution to companies investing in Virginia. Virginia has a new talent accelerator program that scales assistance to the investment level and provides hands-on training, simulations, training videos, work instructions, e-learning modules, and more. This assistance is provided in conjunction with the community colleges. This is a unique program. Other states do not offer a new team-based approach and commitment to ensure success. Our workforce system can offer on-the-job training funds and access to other federal programs, and regionally, we work to connect companies to higher education institutions and other resources for talent. Virginia has recognized talent as the #1 location issue and is proactively addressing and providing a smooth onboarding process for companies in Virginia. We have pad-ready sites from 10 acres to over 100 acres. We have sites that can accommodate 1 million square feet plus, and with building construction underway on a rapid timeframe. The region has a speed to market greenfield sites to accommodate life science manufacturers, data centers, and other technical industries. We also have existing buildings ranging from 100,000 square feet to 750,000 square feet with high ceilings, cranes, clean room space, and special equipment. Wet and dry labs are in planning phase in the corridor. Co-working space is located in several areas regionally. We have the speed to market solutions and are eager to accommodate expansion projects. The partnership is always happy to discuss your requirements to find a solution that will work for your expansion. A major economic driver for our region is the low cost of doing business. Roanoke region can also offer savings when it comes to the cost of living and cost of utilities. Virginia is lower than its competitors in the Southeast on unemployment insurance and workers' compensation insurance premiums. And Virginia is the only state to be CNBC top state for business twice in a row, and the only state to make the top of the list 5 times, owing to a strong workforce and solid education system, as well as a strong business climate. Add a great outdoor scene to the mix. A few years ago, the leadership of this region had the idea of creating an economic sector around the outdoors, with the ultimate goal of leveraging our assets for investment and talent attraction. Through the years, not only have we built an impressive outdoor resume, but we have showcased the region's high degree of livability, including arts and culture, and it has worked. The Roanoke Metro has a mountain metro mix. That means you can go from a trail run or mountain bike ride to the coffee shop or microbrewery for time with your friends. There's Greenway, Appalachian Trail, mountain biking, and the Taubman Museum of Art, as well as the Roanoke Symphony Orchestra. There's performance venues galore, featuring comedy, rock, orchestra, chamber music. There's always something to see and do in our wonderful region, both inside and outdoors. Along with the outdoor culture and cool vibe of the area, We have music, festivals, and great dining. Housing costs are 20% below the national average. Our schools are accredited with special programs for talented students in science and technology. Don't take our word for it. Lots of indicators of strong livability and a place people want to be, with accolades from TripAdvisor, which ranked the region as a great American small city to visit. Livability.com has the Roanoke region as one of the best affordable places to live. Rent.com has Roanoke as one of 10 unique Zoom towns you'll want to move to in 2022. And Penny Hoarder ranks the region as one of the cities that millennials can afford and actually want to live in. Our outdoor accolades are numerous. Outside Magazine ranks the region as one of America's smartest towns. Men's Journal, best mountain towns in America. Runner's World lists the Blue Ridge Marathon as among the hardest races in the world. And Single Tracks Magazine ranks Roanoke as having one of the 10 best mountain biking towns. We are the first silver level ride center on the East Coast from the International Mountain Biking Association, designated again by the IMBA, based in Boulder, Colorado. Only 15 silver level ride designations exist in the world, and Roanoke is the only one on the East Coast. We have an active outdoor community with 600 miles of trail, the largest lake in Virginia, 2 largest rivers, and 30 miles of urban walking and cycling trails. It was announced recently that Roanoke will be the training ground and hub of operations for a U.S. women's bike racing team with medal-winning Olympic athletes. Visit Virginia's Blue Ridge, the region's destination marketing organization, contracted to be the team's title sponsor. Team 2024 relocated its training operations to take advantage of the training opportunities afforded by the area's scenic vistas and beautiful terrain. And 38 athletes will be focused on training here for the Paris 2024 Summer Olympics. Adding to the resume, the Roanoke region has been home to America's toughest road race, the Blue Ridge Marathon, for more than 10 years. Through the years, we've added a UCI level cyclocross race, an enduro mountain biking race series, and we were the first East Coast city to receive the Silver Level Ride Center through the International Mountain Biking Association. Most recently, the region added the Ironman 70.3 triathlon. The region has serious outdoor credentials to match its research credentials. We have the right business climate, real estate, livability, mountains, and metro, and the workforce necessary for any industry to thrive. We have been collecting some questions from the event chat, as well as questions that were asked previously by registrants. We have some questions for Mike and Don. Without further ado, we'll go into the first question. Mike and Don, can you share or elaborate on a couple examples of companies that have spun out of the innovation corridor from VTC or FBRI or from the Carilion collaborative research efforts?
Sure. Don, I guess I could start. Jump in.
Sure, please.
So we've had several that would fit that bill. One of them I mentioned just a little while ago. I'm going to highlight a little bit more, called Tiny Cargo. Tiny Cargo is this company that started from very basic research at the Fralin Biomedical Research Institute to understand better ways to deliver therapeutics in a very targeted fashion. And as I mentioned, it turns out that these small, tiny, if you will, cargo carrying what are called exosomes are found naturally occurring in cow's milk, unpasteurized. So our investigators here partnered with the local dairy here in town and Homestead Creamery, and they worked with them to be able to isolate these exosomes. They then developed and scaled up the ability to produce these on a massive quantity. And that takes a lot of innovation from an engineering as well as a biological point of view. They're now doing that. They published a paper on it. They've filed intellectual property on it, and now have ongoing partnerships going with a variety of other entities. In the midst of all this, as I mentioned earlier, we have a developing partnership in the Washington, D.C. area with Children's National Medical Center. And on their new campus, they have Johnson & Johnson's J-Lab facility. So Johnson & Johnson's J-Labs run a competition. They call it the Quick Fire Challenge competition. And they look for some of the most innovative early stage companies to give them support, mentorship, business support, et cetera. And they selected Tiny Cargo just a few months ago as one of those companies. So they win cash, and they also win the support. So this is a great example of something that's touched on the academic research lab. It had graduate students involved in education, the connection between Virginia Tech and Carilion Clinic, a local other partnering company, and then a major, as it turns out, international organization like Johnson & Johnson. So that's a great example, I think, of one of the companies coming out of the research enterprise.
And John, maybe I'll take just a little bit different approach to this. I'm going to talk about a couple of companies that are startups, early stage, that didn't necessarily start just here in Roanoke or the New River Valley regions, but had connections to VTC in one way, shape, or form, Virginia Tech or Carilion or both. One of those is Metastream. Metastream is a data and analytics solution that helps organize medical information in a fashion that allows it to inform outcomes and improve quality and meet regulatory reporting requirements, which all sounds very simple, but when you work in healthcare, like other industries, nothing's simple. And so they had an application and they needed somewhere to try it. A Virginia Tech alumni connection along with VTC and the ecosystem here. You know, 6 months later, they are working within the Carilion Clinic clinical environment, proving out that this solution works, and expanding the application of that solution to other problems in healthcare. And similarly, a company I mentioned earlier called BrainBox, which is focused again on improvement in brain injury diagnosis and treatment and outcome, is working in collaboration with the Carilion Center for Brain Injury, very aligned with some of the research that's being done that Dr. Friedlander talked about earlier in terms of brain research for disease and in other ways, behavioral ways. And so BrainBox is working with Carilion, again, not necessarily started just here in Roanoke, but it's just another example of how the innovation and entrepreneurial culture and environment that we've created here is attracting folks and becoming known as a place where discovery can take place, but then also be applied from a translational perspective.
Great answers. Thank you both. Looks like we're coming up on the hour. Don, do you have time for one more?
I do.
Okay. One question we had, what are some of the building and development opportunities that are either on the corridor or in the surrounding region that may support the growth of innovation, life science, technology, and healthcare?
Well, so a little bit of history. Again, I'll go back 10 years. I think I can remember one of the early comments I heard from Dr. Friedlander is, it's great that we're opening up this brand new next building, but it's already full and we need another one. And he's been right every time I've heard him say that, meaning that we quickly continue to outgrow our capacity. We talked earlier about adding lab space and innovation space, incubator space in Blacksburg and here in Roanoke as part of the regional approach. We also, Virginia Tech and Carilion through VTC, have been helping lead a master planning process really for the innovation corridor and beyond. So that would be the area here in downtown where there are a lot of assets that are available for development or redevelopment to support the needs of research, education, clinical needs of our communities, but also all the space that goes in between. So housing, retail, green space, and really to try to take a more holistic view of what that looks like for the next 5 to 10 to 15 years, so that as we continue to make decisions on those new buildings that Dr. Friedlander and others need, we can do it in a more organized fashion and help broader constituencies, including the city, the county, potential developers understand what the plan will look like. We expect that first phase, which will be really just guiding at the guiding level, to be completed in 2022, and that will help feed decision making over the course, like I said, of the next decade on how we continue to grow to support the success that we've had.
John, if I might just add one thing I meant to add, we've talked a lot about spin-off companies. We haven't talked as much about companies coming in partnership, and I'll just mention briefly, we have a number of companies, particularly in our case in the imaging space, for example, several European companies have chosen to develop projects working with us here at Fralin Biomedical Research Institute and partner to show R&D and showcase their facilities, their instrumentation here in Roanoke. So there's also great opportunities for those partnerships.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you both for your answers and for your time and your contributions to this panel. I want to thank our attendees. Thank you for your attendance and interest in the Roanoke region. We will be following up with an email to event attendees, and I encourage you to follow up with any questions or inquiries as to how we can assist in your future plans. The Roanoke Regional Partnership is here as a resource and as a connector to assist you in your business goals. Thank you once again for your attendance and time. Appreciate your interest, and have a good day.